this week on the Retirement Quick Tips podcast, I'm talking about fortifying your data, protecting yourself from cybercrime. And this is a big deal. Recently, there was a huge, massive data breach. It's not clear how many Americans are impacted, but it seems like with the amount of data points that are leaked, it's most of us, unfortunately. And that includes names, addresses, social security numbers, other data points as well. It's quite scary, and it can be overwhelming sometimes to think of all the new ways that hackers and fraudsters are taking advantage of us every single day. They get more sophisticated. We seemingly don't. And it seems, you get to a point where it's like you feel helpless. You feel like it's inevitable. Someone's going to take advantage of you, steal your data, steal your money. So to prevent that feeling of overwhelming from creating this paralysis by analysis situation, I want to talk about how the 80-20 rule applies when it comes to preventing cyber theft. Now, the 80-20 rule basically says that 80% of the outcomes, 80% of the results are derived from 20% of the causes or 20% of the effort. This applies in a lot of things: money, saving, investing, eating healthy, exercising, work. You could also reverse it and say, if you do the right things 80% of the time, you're going to come out okay in the end. I think this applies a lot to exercise, eating healthy, but 80% of the outcomes, 20% of the causes as it relates to cyber theft. So what are the 20% of the most important things that you could do? Because you could do tons of different things. But if we just tackle the top 2 ways that people steal your data, I think that takes care of the 80%, preventing 80% of the outcomes, negatively in this case, from just tackling a couple different ways or 20% of the causes. So what are those? Well, one of them is phishing with a P, not fishing at a lake, but phishing, PH, phishing. And the second is personal data breaches. Now, let me talk about each of these individually. I'm going to talk about phishing for today's episode, and then I'll talk about the data breaches tomorrow. So phishing is the fraudulent practice of sending emails or other message pretending to be from a reputable company in order to induce someone to reveal personal information such as passwords and credit card numbers. Now, the first thing to look for is that these are all from an unsolicited email or text message. By now, I am sure you've seen these. I get them all the time. I get the text messages saying, the carrier can't deliver your package, and then they want you to click on this link to verify your information. And it's like, nope, not doing that. So unsolicited email or text message, they often use tactics to trick you into clicking a link. So a lot of times it's urgent. We've noticed some suspicious activity or login attempts, or there's a problem with your account or your payment information, or you have an invoice due and it's late. And you're like, oh my gosh. And then you click on it and give them your information. So that's the goal of the phishing scam, is that they want you to click on a link, open an attachment. It looks reputable from a bank account, a credit card company, a utility company. A lot of times now they're posing as coworkers or other people And the scary part is that they're getting really good at making these emails look legit. So it's no longer like a Nigerian prince. These are the 1990s scam. I'm a prince in Nigeria and I have all this money that I want to give to you and this inheritance that you receive, but you need to give me something first. Those aren't happening. I mean, maybe they're still happening, but they're getting a lot more sophisticated, these fraudsters, with how they're tricking you using logos, actual branding from real companies that you do business with. So you're like, oh my gosh, if you have a Wells Fargo bank account and you get an email from what looks to be Wells Fargo saying that they've noticed some suspicious activity, click on this link, update your password, bam, that's how they get you. There's also things where you're eligible for a refund or you get something for free. So those are also other ways, but it's important to recognize right off the bat that while you could get an email from Wells Fargo saying that they've noticed some fraudulent activity, they're typically not going to email you a link to update your payment or your login information. If you notice, a lot of the legit emails say update your password, but they won't necessarily provide you with the link to do that. So if you are suspicious, if you think that the email is legit, Don't click on the link in the email. Go to your internet browser, open your bank account the same way you always do, or open whatever account it is that you think may have been leaked, and go ahead and change your password. But don't launch the password change link from the email or from a text message. Go to where the Wells Fargo login, Facebook login, whatever that is from your browser. Go to it that way versus clicking on the link. You also never ever provide personal sensitive information via email. Any reputable company will never ask for it. So if they're asking for it to provide in an email, right off the bat that that's not legit. And just being cautious here for example, don't ignore an email you get saying that there appears to be fraudulent activity on your account. We don't want to dismiss all of these because especially if it's a financial account, any account, if they're trying to gain access or they have gained access, you want to go in and change your password right away. You just don't want to click on the link or open anything in the email or provide password information via email. You want to do that. Go back to the known way that you log into that account, which is opening it from your browser, just like you would normally, and change it that way. Okay, now regarding data breaches, one of the best ways to protect yourself there is by freezing your credit. So I'm going to talk about that and more on how to prevent fraudsters from gaining access to your accounts, opening credit cards, messing with your credit, stealing from you after they have your personal information. All right, that's it for today. Thank you so much for listening. My name is Ashley Michike, and this is the Retirement Quick Tips Podcast.